Hi, today in this video I'm going to explain you very special concept in economics, in microeconomics, that is actually related with utility as well as demand, supply and market equilibrium. Uh, this is actually substitution and income effect, right? Substitution and income effect. When we are indicating these two concepts, you know very well. Now we are going to discuss about something related with law of demand, right? We have discussed this in law of demand. What is it? The reason behind demand curve to slope downward, that is substitution and income effect, right? When what is the demand law in higher prices, if say P1 and P2, right? This is Q1 and Q2. When price increases, quantity demanded decrease, then when price decreases, quantity demanded increases. This is demand law, or the law of demand, right? Two reasons behind this is substitution effect and income effect, right? First of all, we should clear the matter of what is substitution effect and what is income effect. Substitution effect. Now, if we consider two substitutes, right? Two substitutes, what is happening if price of a certain substitute decreased, certain good. As an example thing, you will consider good A and B, right? These are substitute to each other. That means good B we can use instead of A, good A we can use instead of B, right? As an example, we will say this is butter and margarine, right? Butter and margarine. Substitution effect mean, now if we say we are going to draw a demand curve of good A, that means butter, right? This is also sloped down, right? This is downward sloping uh, demand curve, right? What is happening? As an example thing, in this level, right? The price is 100 and quantity demanded is 200, right? Now the butter price increases. Then what is happening? What is the substitution effect? Now we are going to talk about the substitution effect, right? Substitution effect. Then when butter price increases, now this consumer has a compare cheaper product, cheaper good in the market. Then what is happening? Certain consumers are moving to this. They are going to use margarine instead of butter. They are going to use margarine instead of butter, right? Another, right? We'll say this has increased to 200. Now we'll say this has decreased to 50 rupees. The price of substitute that has shifted to, that is, the price of this particular good, substitute good, that decreased up to 50. Then what is happening? Now margarine users, they have a cheaper product, that is butter. Then what they are doing? They make demand on butter. Then what is happening? Quantity demanded goes up. We will say this is 250. Right. This is the substitution effect behind this. Right. That's why when this increases, when price increases, quantity demanded decreases. When price decreases, quantity demanded increases. The substitution effect is another reason. Then what is income effect? Income effect. Income effect, this is related with the consumer's real income. Real income, not the monetary income. This is not the consumer's monetary income, this is related with the real income. So what is happening here? Right? As an example, think when price decreases, what is happening? Real income increases. Right? As an example, think the price of butter is 100 rupees. Right? The consumer's income is 1000. Right? Consumer's income is 1000. Now, this is actually this particular consumer's monetary income. But in the context of butter, the real income of this consumer is 10. Why? 1000 divided by 10. That means 10, when consumer is buying 10, he has to spend this entire money. Or we can say, in the term of butter, consumers' real income is 10. Right? Consumer can buy 10 units of butter. Right? As an example, think now the butter price increases to 200. Then what is happening? Consumer can't buy 10 units. Then consumer's real income decreases up to 5. Consumer's real income decreases up to 5. Why? The price has increased. Same way, if price increased to 50, then this consumer can buy 20. Right? This is another reason to this demand curve to stop down in respect to price change. Right? That's why there's a negative relationship between price and quantity demanded. That's why this demand curve drops down. Right. This is the basic theory you need to know to discuss further discussion in this lesson. Right. Now, main thing I'm going to discuss is when demand curve slopes down or when consumers are responding to price changes, is only income effect? Is there only substitution effect or both? We can't say only one. 100% income effect, 100% substitution effect. Right? Now, we can say both effects are there. How we can separate this? How we can separate this and understand what is income effect and what is substitution effect, right? For this, actually, I'm going to introduce you two main theories, right? One is Hicksian theory and Slutskyan theory. Hicks and Slutsky. Hicks and Slutsky, both of these economists, right? Both of them are economists, right? Hicks, if you can remember, Hicks is the one introduced indifference curve theory. Slutsky, he's using indifference curve theory to further explain what is substitution effect and what is income effect, right? Okay, now we will go ahead to understand what is Hicksian theory and what is Slutskyan theory and how we can understand and how we can separate income effect and substitution effect. And finally, we are going to derive a demand curve based on these two theories. Bit complex, listen carefully. First, I am going to explain Hicksian theory. Right? J.R. Hicks is a British economist. If you can remember, Hicks is the one introduced the theory of indifference curve, right? He is using indifference curve theory to explain this matter, to separate substitution effect and income effect, right? Let me explain this. Right. Okay, we'll say this is good y and this is good x. Good y and good x, right? And I'm drawing one indifference curve here, right? This is indifference curve. I'm going to name that as I. This indifference curve is IZ1, indifference curve 1, right? Now I am drawing the budgetary line here. Right? This is the budget line, right? This budget line we can say y1 x1, right? y1 x1. Then consumer is in equilibrium where the previous knowledge what you want to is a consumer equilibrium under indifference curve theory, right? We know that consumer is in equilibrium equilibrium condition where the budgetary line tangent to indifference curve, IC, right? We can say now consumer in equilibrium when consumer is using y1, we'll say YA and YB. This is XB, right? This is the number of goods this consumer is consuming in good Y, that is YA. XA, we'll say this is XA. XA is number of goods this consumer is consuming when from good X. Right, now the consumer is in equilibrium. Now think, right, this price of good X that has decreases. Price of good that has decreases. When price decreases, what is happening? This is moving anti-clockwise. Right? That means this is rotating to rightward. Right? I'm going to say that x2. Right? y1, x2 is the new budgetary line. Right? Now, to understand substitution effect, then for this increase, now we know the slope of these two budgetary lines are too different. Slope of these two budgetary lines are different, right? Then to understand what is the substitution effect, right? We have to draw parallel line tangent to this indifference curve. Right? That is, it is parallel. Now I am drawing in another. I'll draw that in red color. Right? Then this is y2. This is y1 x1. This is y1 x2. This is, I'll say, y3 x3. right? Then under this income level and under this consumption level, right? This shows the slope of this budgetary line says the income, and the slope of this curve, indifference curve, that represents the consumption. Then consumer, here consumer equilibrium in, I'll say that E1 level, right? Consumer is in equilibrium in E1 level in the initial budgetary line and the indifference curve, equilibrium 1, and here consumer is in equilibrium in E2, right? What is happening then? Consumer's previous consumption of XA is from good X is XA, right? Now consumer is consuming B amounts from XB, which is greater than XA. For that, what has happened? Consumer has given up YA from YB. That means this has given up, this has increased. That means this is the substitution effect, right? This distance from XA to XB, that represents the substitution effect, right? This is the substitution effect explained by Hicks. The income, right? Then what is the income effect? To understand the income effect, right, we'll go for another indifference curve, that is IC2, right? IC2. Now consumers are increasing due to the increase of income. Consumers has increased their consumption, right? Due to the, then we can understand another say this is IC2, indifference curve 2, right? E3 is the equilibrium after price change, right? E3 is the equilibrium after price change, right? Then this, I'm going to say this is XC, right? XC. Okay. Now XA to XA to XC is XA to XC. XA to XC is the total price effect, right? Then XA to XB, XA to XB is substitution effect, and XB to XC, this is income effect, right? Clearly understand this, right? I will explain it again, right? Now IC1 is the initial indifference curve. IC1 is the initial indifference curve, and Y1, X1, this is the initial budgetary line. This is the initial budgetary line. And E1 is the initial equilibrium. Now, price has changed. price has decreased. Price decreased, then consumers' income, real income increased, then consumers are going to consume more from good X. Why? The price of good X that has reduced, right? Then what is happening? We should find what is the substitution effect. Then we have to draw a line that is tangent to initial indifference curve. Normally that is below to the E2 due to substitution effect. Why? The consumer is sacrificing certain amount to increase the consumption of good X, right? Then what is happening? Another consumption level we can find, that is XB, right? XA to XB is the substitution effect, right? But the total effect is not that. Consumer's total consumption is not XA to XB. Then consumer is in equilibrium in another point where I see 2 indifference curve tangent to this new budgetary line, right? Then that is XC. Then XA to XC is the total effect. That means total price effect. Normally the total price effect, that is composition of 2. If this is the price effect, is this the price effect, then we can identify substitution effect and income effect is the composition. Now we are trying to decomposite these two. How much of substitution effect, right? What is the amount of units has changed due to substitution effect? What is amount of units that has changed due to income effect? This is the way J.R. Hicks explained the concept, right? This is the way J.R. Hicks explained the concept, right? Now we'll see, after the Hicks, we'll see now how Slutsky explains the same concept. Slutsky also given another concept, right? Slutsky also decomposite this income effect and substitution effect. Most of these are same, but there are some differences, right? We'll go to discuss what is Slutsky is saying. Slutsky also using the same concept, indifference curve and budgetary line concept for this particular concept. To separate these two, substitution effect and income effects, Slutsky is using same concept, right? Okay, now I am drawing first the budgetary line, right? This is good Y and this is good X, right? I'll say this is Y1 and X1, the initial budgetary line, and say this is IZ1. Initially we know there is a equilibrium, that is E1, right? E1 equilibrium, right? What we're going to discuss is then Y1 X2 is the new budgetary line. Why? Price of good X that has decreased, then consumers are using more from good X, right? Then what is happening? We are going to draw a line, parallel line, that is not tangent to this indifference curve, right? That is not tangent to indifference curve, but this is going across the initial equilibrium point. It's going like this, right? This is the initial equilibrium point. The line goes like this, Both of these are parallel, right? Both of these are parallel. Now, what is happening, right? We have to draw another equilibrium point. Now we are drawing, according to Slutsky, right? According to Slutsky, there should be another indifference curve, right? In Hicksian method, what we used is, we used only two indifference curves, initial one and new one. Here we are using another EC2, this is EC1, right? Right, this is the new equilibrium point. Right. Now there are two indifference curves. This is EC2. Right. Now this amount, will say this is Y1, Y2. This is, we'll say YA, YB. This is XA. This is XB. Now YA to YB units given up to increase XA to XB. This is the sacrification. This is the increased amount of goods, right? Consumption has increased from XA to XB, right? This is substitution effect. Now the income effect, right? Income effect, we'll say there is another indifference curve, that is EC3. This is XC, this is YC. Okay. Now you can understand, this is, the total is XA to XC, that is total effect or the total price effect, right? Then XA to XB, substitution effect, and XB to XC is income effect, right? Substitution effect and income effect. This is substitution effect and this is income effect. This is income effect. This is small one. XB to XC is, this is substitution effect. That means this portion. And this portion is income effect. Right? This portion is total effect. Right? This is the way Slutsky explains the situation. Right, I will explain it again. This is the initial budgetary line and this is the initial indifference curve. And price increase, then this is the budgetary line moved rightward in from only this side, that means anti-clockwise, that is changing, that is rotating. Then the new X2 amount consumes due to price decreases. Right. And we are drawing a parallel line to cut this E1 and drawing another E2, drawing another indifference curve, right? This is the second indifference curve. This is supposed to be IC, another indifference curve, right? Then in that case, this is using YB amount, right? And another indifference curve we have drawn. This is the income effect, right? finally we can identify this. This is the way Slutsky introduced the concept. That means this is the way Slutsky separate or decomposite income effect and substitution effect. Right. Now there are two types of demand curves. One is Marshallian demand curve, other one is Hicksian demand curve. Right. For that I am using two graphs. Upper graph that says this is the good Y, consumption of good Y and consumption of good X. Right. Now I am going to draw the demand curve of X. Right. Then this is the Px and quantity X. Right. Now there is an initial equilibrium E1, then right, that is in this price level P1. Right. Right. This is the second budgetary line. We will say this is Y1 X1, Y1 X2. Right. Then next what we did is I am drawing another parallel line tangent to this. Right. This is IC1. Right. There is another equilibrium point. This is E2. Right. The price is below. Right. This is the IC3 in difference curve 3, and in another price there is another. Right. Now there are 3 points. Right. We know the demand curve is straight line, that is a sloping downward. Right. Now we are considering, if I name these 2 points A, B and C, right. Now the Marshallian demand curve is drawing like this. In Marshallian demand curve, this point is not. Right. Marshallian demand curve, the B curve is not available, that has that has given up. That not considered. Right. I will say this is DM. Marshallian demand curve, that's why I wrote that as DM. And this is DH. Right. This is the Hicksian demand curve. Now Hicksian demand curve considering B2. This equilibrium, but in Hicksian method, the C has E0. Right, that considered only E1 and E2. Right. This is the explanation of two concepts, Marshallian and Hicksian theories. Right, and how to separate consumers' behavior according to the change of the price. Right, we know one is substitution effect, other one is income effect. That's why demand curve slopes down. Right, now we understand how to separate these two. Right, how to decomposite this income effect and substitution effect using according to theories introduced by according to theories introduced by Hicks and Slutsky. Finally, we understood what is the Marshallian demand curve and what is the Hicksian demand curve, right? This is theory related with consumer behavior and related with market equilibrium too, right? We'll meet another video very soon. Thank you very much for watching.